Number 5, in my opinion, avoid paying by the graft whenever you can. Unfortunately, in the hair transplant industry, the majority of surgeons that you will call and talk to are going to quantify how much hair you get by the number of grafts they'll give you. So unfortunately, this is not really fair to the patient because most patients don't know that one graft does not equal one hair. A graft is usually a follicular unit that has a multitude of hairs in it. A follicular unit could have one hair, it could have two hairs, it could have three hairs, it could have four hairs. And the problem is that if they say, okay, well, Lance, we're going to give you 1,000 grafts, which is what a lot of consultations told me before I had my first surgery, and they didn't give me a clear idea of, how much total hair is that going to be. So if they say, okay, Lance, we'll give you 1,000 grafts, well, is that 1,000 one-hair grafts? Or is that 1,000 two-hair grafts? If they only give you 1,000 grafts and they're all one single hair, yeah, your hairline's going to look great, but then you're not going to have any density. Or if they give you 1,000 four-hair grafts, yeah, you'll have great density, but you'll have a very unnatural doll's head-like appearance. So one thing I recommend is to look into surgeons who do not charge by the graft, but charge actually by the length of the donor strip multiplied by 200 hairs per square centimeter. In my opinion, I think this is a more fair way to estimate how much total hair you're going to get, because when you multiply by the length of the donor strip in square centimeters, multiplied by 200 hairs per square centimeter, which is average density for most patients, that'll give you a number around 6,000 total hairs based on the length of the strip. So they can then justify and quantify it out and say, well, of 6,210 hairs, this many were ones, this many were twos, this many were threes and fours. And then what some doctors do is that they'll use a bigger, density graft that has multiple follicular bundles in it. So it could have 5 hairs, 6 hairs, 7 hairs, etc. So one thing about the hair transplant industry is that if they charge by the graft, this it gives them the incentive to really cut down the number of hairs in each graft, giving you a very sparse, thin appearance to kind of set you up for this treadmill, if you will, of coming back for more surgeries. Now, granted, I've had 2 surgeries, and I will soon have a 3rd surgery to fill in my scar line and kind of touch up my hairline. But unfortunately, you hear these horror stories about patients who have had 4 or 5 and even 6 surgeries because a lot of these other practices, they will cut up the grafts into such small incremental hairs, giving you such a sparse result to get you to come back for more surgeries. So that's what I recommend. Avoid paying by the graft, and always try to figure out how much total hair you're going to get. So with that said, let's move on to number 6.